Hello, my dear students. Welcome back to chemistry class. Today, let us continue the lesson Combustion and Flame. Let us revise what we have learned in the previous class. We have learned what is combustion, what are combustible substances or fuels, and we learned that air is essential for burning and what is meant by ignition temperature. And it is essential for a substance to reach ignition temperature to burn. That means below the ignition temperature, a substance cannot burn. Then we also learned that what are inflammable substances and their examples. Today we are going to cover the topics. How do we control fire and types of combustion. So let us see what are the essential requirements for producing fire. You know, to produce fire, first we need the fuel or combustible substance. Then we also learn that air is necessary to burn. And if fuel and air is enough to produce the fire, no. We have to heat the substance till it reaches its ignition temperature. For example, if you are keeping wood in presence of air, whether it will catch fire? No. We have to heat it till it reaches its ignition temperature. What is ignition temperature? It is the lowest temperature at which a substance catches fire. So let us see which are the three essential requirements for producing fire. They are fuel, air, air to supply the oxygen, and heat to raise the temperature of the fuel beyond the ignition temperature. Now let us see can we control the fire. Fire can be controlled by removing one or more of these requirements. Which are the requirements? Fuel, air and heat. So anything catches fire, we'll try to extinguish it. So how the fire extinguisher control the fire? Either by cutting off the supply of air or bringing down the temperature of the fuel or both. For example, if any one of these essential requirement is removed, we can control the fire. So, supply of air can be removed or the heat, the temperature can be lowered, bring down the temperature. Or we can do both also. The fuel in most cases cannot be eliminated. For example, if a building catches fire, the whole building is the fuel. So you might have heard any shop or building catches fire, or at least you might have watched the movie, or some of you might have seen also. What we'll do? We'll call the fire brigade. When the fire brigade arrives, what does it do to control the fire? It pours water on the fire. So let us see how does water extinguish fire. Water is commonly used to control fires. Water cools the combustible material so that its temperature is brought below its ignition temperature. This prevents the fire from spreading. So you know already a substance cannot burn below its ignition temperature. So water reduces the temperature, it cools the substance. It brings the temperature below its ignition temperature so that the substance do not get burnt. Now, water vapors also surround the combustible material, helping in cutting off the supply of air. So, fire is extinguished. So, water is doing two roles here. One is cooling the substance, bringing the temperature below its ignition temperature, below the ignition temperature of the combustible substance, and also cutting off the supply of air. Water vapor, it surround the combustible material and cut off the supply of air. So the fire is extinguished. Now there is a question. Can water be used to control fires involving electrical equipments or oils? What is your answer? No. We can't use water to extinguish the fire involving electrical equipments or oils. Let us see the reason. We have seen that the most common fire extinguisher is water. But water works only when things like wood and paper are on fire. So why can't we use to control fires involving electrical equipments and oils? Let us see the reason. If electrical equipment is on fire, water cannot be used to control the fire. Water may conduct electricity and harm those trying to extinguish the fire. You know, water is a good conductor of electricity. So if you are trying to extinguish the fire on an electrical equipment, the water conducts the electricity and the person, those who are trying to extinguish the fire may get harmed. Next, why can't we use to control the fire involving petrol or oil? Oil is having less density than the water. So, the oil floats on water, or we can say water is having more density than the oil, or it is heavier than the oil. So, what happens when we are pouring water on oil which caught fire? The water sinks and below the oil, and oil keeps on burning on the top. So, water is also not suitable for fires involving oil and petrol. Water is heavier than oil. So it sinks below the oil and oil keeps burning on top. So we cannot use water to control fires involving electrical equipments and oils. So in such cases, what we'll use to extinguish the fire? We can use carbon dioxide. For fires involving electrical equipment and inflammable materials like petrol, carbon dioxide is the best extinguisher. Carbon dioxide, being heavier than oxygen, covers the fire like a blanket. Since the contact between the fuel and oxygen is cut off, the fire is controlled. So how do carbon dioxide extinguish the fire? As it is heavier than oxygen, it covers the fire like a blanket, and here the oxygen supply is cut off. So the fire can be controlled. And one more advantage of using carbon dioxide as fire extinguisher is that in most cases it does not harm the electrical equipment. Next, let us see how do we get the supply of carbon dioxide. It can be stored at high pressure as a liquid in cylinders. You know LPG, how it is stored in the cylinder. Whether it is stored in the cylinder the gaseous form? No, it is liquefied petroleum gas, or it is liquefied at under high pressure and stored in the cylinder. Just like that, carbon dioxide also at high pressure as a liquid, it is stored in the cylinder. So when released from the cylinder, this carbon dioxide expands enormously in volume and cools down. So under high pressure, it is stored in the cylinder. When it is released, what will happen? It expands suddenly as temperature comes down. So it not only forms a blanket around the fire, it also brings down the temperature of the fuel. That is why it is an excellent fire extinguisher. So it covers the fire and it cut off the supply of oxygen, and also it cools down the temperature. It brings the temperature below the ignition temperature. Another way to get carbon dioxide is to release a lot of dry powder of chemicals like sodium bicarbonate. Other name of sodium bicarbonate is baking soda or potassium bicarbonate. Near the fire, these chemicals give off carbon dioxide. So this baking soda or sodium bicarbonate or potassium bicarbonate, when it is heated, it decomposes to form carbon dioxide. And you know how the carbon dioxide acts as a And you know how the carbon dioxide acts as a fire extinguisher. So how do we get the supply of carbon dioxide? Either it can be stored under high pressure in a liquid form in the cylinder, or we can use substances like sodium bicarbonate or potassium bicarbonate. So near the fire, these substances releases the gives off the carbon dioxide. Now we have seen already how the carbon dioxide extinguishes the fire. It cut off the oxygen supply and also brings down the temperature of the combustible substance. Now let us learn the types of combustion. In this lesson, we are going to learn three types of combustion. One is rapid combustion, another one spontaneous combustion, and explosion. Let us learn one by one. What is meant by rapid combustion? What is the meaning of rapid? Fast, quick. So for example, if you are bringing a burning matchstick or a lighter near a burner and we open the knob, what will happen? Suddenly the gas burns. So this type of combustion, and it also produces heat and light. This type of combustion is called rapid combustion. The type of combustion in which a substance burns rapidly and produces heat and light is known as rapid combustion. Example, combustion of LPG, combustion of petrol, combustion of all these highly inflammable substances are example for rapid combustion. Petrol catches fire, or diesel catches fire, alcohol catches fire. All these are example for rapid combustion. Next, let us see what is meant by spontaneous combustion. What is the meaning of spontaneous? Itself, without any cause. So, you know, the white phosphorus, that is a substance which catches fire even at room temperature. No need to burn. No need to use a lighter or matchstick to burn the white phosphorus. Such type of combustion is called spontaneous combustion. The type of combustion in which a material suddenly bursts into flames without the application of any apparent cause is called spontaneous combustion. Example, burning of white phosphorus in air at room temperature, combustion of coal dust in coal mines, and the forest fire. So, spontaneous combustion means it is a type of combustion in which a material suddenly bursts into flames without the application of any apparent cause. And the examples are burning of white phosphorus in air at room temperature, combustion of coal dust in coal mines, and forest fire. Now let us see what is meant by explosion. So you all are burning crackers, isn't it? So during Diwali, you might have recently uh, played on the fireworks. When the fireworks or the crackers are ignited, what will happen? It bursts and produces heat, light, and also sound. And we can see some smoke also produced there. That means gas also released. Such type of combustion is called explosion. The type of combustion reaction that occurs with evolution of tremendous amount of heat. Tremendous means large amount of heat, light, gases and sound is known as explosion. Example, when we burn a cracker, it bursts with a liberation of tremendous amount of heat, light, gases and sound. So we have learned today's class. What are the essential requirements for producing fire? What are they? They are the fuel, air and heat. Then how do we control fire? How can we control fire? We can use the fire extinguisher like water. How does water control the fire? We have learned. And for fire involving electrical equipments or oil, we cannot use the water. Then what we'll use? We can use carbon dioxide as the fire extinguisher. How the carbon dioxide controls the fire also we have learned. Then we learn the types of combustion. Three types of combustion we learn: rapid combustion, spontaneous combustion and explosion, and their examples also. Hope you understood today's class. Thank you, children.